Thank you very much. We are a little bit tired, but if you want to ask our Polish presenters, please. No? Okay. Yes, that's the question.
I have a question for Alicia. In the data you collected, you only collected the time spent. You didn't collect any kind of quality from what the users experienced. So how do you then, in the future, plan to balance, or do you plan to balance that in terms of some other types of streams of data to collect? Because, I mean, you clearly point out that it's mostly because people are unwilling to walk an extra 1.5 meters to experience other exhibits.
Yes, thank you. I was not very specific. Basically, it's just ergonomics. That really shows what ergonomics, how we navigate in space, and what really we prefer. This 1.5 meters is crucial here. So the message to the designer and to curators: if you have something important, make it on the right-hand side from next to the entrance, and that will be attended by your visitor. So that's the big message. In terms of for Chopin Museum, this amount of the kind of combination of data you can or analysis you can make is endless almost. You can really say what was done. You know, what is the visitor behavior before midday, after midday. You know, museum is open until 8 p.m. I know that some people got engaged, so probably they were not actually browsing the exhibition, they were doing other things. So we would like to see how it works and what time of the day, and how to, you know, I'm cruel, but also for marketing purposes, it's very, very informative. So I don't know whether I answered your question. In terms of if some people leave something like 70% of the content, and that's you know, persistent from John Smith to John Smith to John Smith, then we should improve the actual content, because it's boring.
Can I ask one more question? What about in terms of prototyping exhibits? Have you thought about using this type of data to, you know, an iterative process to design future exhibits?
Yeah, and this data is really for a big analysis from many points of view for usually people involved in perception, psychology, and not for myself. I'm just managing now, and I don't have time to really do research. But really, it's open. It should be available first. And second, we should make a very good use of it for open audience.
Sorry, so Alicia gives a follow-up on that one. In Poland, do you use the term museum fatigue?
Yes, I mean,
yeah. So you knew Gilman's work and Melton's work from the 1920s and 30s?
Well, we can. I didn't compare that to those data, but I clearly can say that after something like 90 minutes, it's just this.
Yeah.
But that's my sort of hypothesis.
So I've got to be in my bonnet about it, because people largely ignore the issue, and it was defined in 1916, and it's great to see you actually looking at it. But so many museum designs don't take fatigue into account at all. Well,
museums are sometimes built for bigger messages than people's fatigue. I mean, 1,000 years of history must be very big exhibition. You can't make it short. So or Yad Vashem, you have to have. It must be big. You are just supposed to come back and explore more if you have time. But you know, human body is human body, and we should be aware of it and design our exhibitions towards that. Exactly. It is something about space, it's these more dimensions which really makes a huge difference, and this is why some designers are excellent and some of them aren't. And this piece of research, which I'm hoping one day will be published, will show that they are just basic rules, and they are not, because we can really check our intuition, yours and mine, whether it's really, and that's simple, the system is there. So my point is, if you make multimodal exhibitions with multimedia, add this little small module and try to gather that data for the future.
Are there any questions? So, yes.
It's less about museums, it's more about the way Rijkaard and Petrov were talking about media art or art involved with technology and sciences. And I was wondering if in the States, I've been involved with one of the few doctoral programs in the studio arts, and there's a trend to push those of us in universities. I'm not self-identified as an artist, but I'm always in the context of those self-identified as artists, and it really specifically relates to the artists and curators practicing with more the technological, digital, bioart, or any of the more multimedia type work, that they're being pushed to refer to their art practice as research and production of knowledge. And there's been a kind of transformation in the way artists they're mostly artists working with technologies. You showed a number of them up on the screen, where their self-identification is changing, and they're having to use discuss their creative practice in terms of knowledge building in a kind of more scientific way. And I'm wondering, are you having that kind of, again, it's less about museums, but more about art and technologies and the more global context. Are you having that kind of dynamic demanded of those of you here to maintain support in terms of funding or universities? And because there is a transformation going on in the United States, so just to contextualize it.
Definitely, yes. You are aware how big discussion nowadays is being developed. Many internet groups, like Yasmin, for example, is concentrated on this issue. Sometimes just participating in such discussions, I have a feeling that the whole art system is being transformed at the moment, which is actually a mistake. This is just a small group of people trying to create the space for some artists to develop different ideas about art than previously was the most important. In Poland it's the same, and especially among younger artists, students graduating, because I also teach at Art Academy. So in many cases I have to answer the questions from the very, very young artists asking where to go, which institution, what sort of grant are available for someone like me trying to develop bio-art projects. So this is actually a growing interest, and I think that in the future this interest will develop in something very important for the art.
Just one question.
Sorry, Alicia, just a clarification, because you say that analyzing the statistics about the know-how room in Chopin, the location of the display affects the result of the statistic, but don't you think that also probably the hierarchy or the communication inside the design of the room affect it?
No. Actually, it's on the same level. Hierarchy, maybe it's something is white, something is black. The other one, the less attended was black, and and the winner was white. Maybe that, maybe white positive. I don't know. I'm trying to guess, but definitely the positioning in the room and the sleek look of the screen with the creative process, and there's something hidden in the corner, which I actually think was kind of considered as you can find me attitude. So I think that's the design of this room.
Yeah, and the second question is, did you consider to try to change a little bit the display in order to see if the result of the statistics changes?
No, this is what I said. Chopin Museum and all other museums are really expensive. So in terms of to change entire system would not be really helpful. I mean, we can change the content because you can swap the content, and you can definitely do that, and you should do, make it less boring. But not to really rebuild the entire project, because I think the designers Migliore and Servetto did a very good job by really avoiding the heritage features, and so I think it will stay, but we definitely can work with the content.
Is there any questions?
I have a question to Alicia. I'm just curious because it seems like the observations that you were mentioning about the choices that people made are very much driven by the, again, like visual stimuli, right? So people make certain decisions because something looks more attractive or is ergonomical, so maybe tactile issues are also important. But what about sound, for instance? Do you have any way of measuring people's decision based on, for instance, soundscapes are very present in the space? And if yes, then how do you do that?
I thank you very much for this question. We are really, in Museum World, not exploring the sound at all. And we are leaving it aside, and this is so powerful. And yes, I would say that some of the sound provisions worked better than others. For instance, but that's my observation. It's not on the base of data, but because sound is, in terms of soundscape, is usually either triggered by a sensor or it's there all the time in looped. So I think when you walk in, for instance, the welcome door, that's a good example, you're welcomed by many languages. And that's for cognitive science, that you will pick up your own. And you will know, even if really in big amount of languages, that actually it's someone greets you, even if it's Chinese. So for that reason, yes, I'm probably a minute change in your mood when you are Chinese, and you are welcomed in your language, even if everything else is not in Chinese. The rest, difficult for me to say, but I could observe that people are more contemplative, they have the kind of reflective mood when they are in rooms where there is soundscape designed, like in room Paris, level 1. People really were very slowly walking, and or in level 2, where they were preludes always. But the soundscape design is really something which we should and must explore more in museums.